Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Jay Encarnacion, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are thrilled to have Tyler Mounce, the founder and owner of AMPLIS. Tyler brings a unique blend of over 13 years in the health and fitness industry, where he rose to the head of marketing, expertise in CRM and HubSpot, and a passion for building lead generation machines for small to mid-sized service businesses. Based in Costa Mesa, California, AMPLIS, founded in 2023, is transforming how service businesses scale through fractional marketing services and fractional CMO, B2B outbound marketing, and marketing team as a service. We'll be exploring his founding story, how his business empowers clients to achieve predictable growth, and his vision for expanding this results-driven venture. So with that being said, let's dive right into it. Tyler, welcome to Founders Future.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
I love it. I love it. A pleasure to have you on the show today, and super cool with what you're doing on this side of things. Would love for you to take us back to the beginning and speak to our listeners a bit about what specific problem in the marketing landscape for small to mid-sized service businesses really inspired you to start AMPLIS.
So there's a kind of like a story before this story, which was I worked I grew up in the same company. My dad was an academic, had plans of following in his footsteps, got into personal training as a way to pay my way through grad school.
Yep.
And then when I finished undergrad, I just decided to work full time for a little while just to take a break, and then was really enjoying what I was doing. And then both like what the company was doing, what I was personally doing. So I just kept doing that. And then that company grew. I got opportunities to rise up through. As the company grew, new opportunities presented to the point where at the end, I was the head of marketing the last couple of years that I was there. And then I got fired, actually. Which was, I don't know if we're allowed to use obscenities on this show, but what happened was the CEO and founder brought in a president to help. Basically, like, we reached a point where we needed to scale. So he brought in like the scaling entrepreneur, like kind of operations guy, to at least on paper, to do that. And that was a pretty rough transition. And within a few months, it got pretty bad, to the point where early on in that time, what he said is, in the very, very beginning, out of the gate, he goes, "Tell me whatever's on your mind. I want open lines of communication," like trying to inspire this trust. And he literally said in an all hands meeting to the entire company, he goes, "I don't care. You can tell me to go fuck myself."
Interesting.
He says that to the whole company. And so it's okay. It's like the radical candor thing, right? The Ray Dalio principle.
Right.
But as it turns out, that was not a genuine sentiment, because as tension grew, ended up basically I got fired because I didn't really like some of the directional changes and things that were happening within the company. So anyways, I'm 35 years old. I've got 2 kids and a mortgage, and I'm unemployed somewhat unexpectedly, very unexpectedly. I didn't go into it with this, oh, I have this vision for this thing. It was, what am I going to do? And I had been in marketing, and I knew right away I didn't want to just start another marketing agency, because I had vendors that I used at my last company. There's a lot of my friends own marketing agencies. I'm like, I don't want to just be like a cheaper or a better or a whatever version of what's out there.
Yeah.
So I was tinkering, was thinking about being a full-time real estate investor. I was looking at I was potentially going to do a startup in like the med tech education space, like just all kinds of things, right? Yeah. And then when I settled on here's the problem that I want to fix, and that was what kind of led me into like your next question of what do we do differently, is it when I was at the company before, it was a consumer services business, small bootstrapped company. And what I found was a lot of marketing companies would have a portfolio, maybe 40% SaaS, 60% e-commerce, whatever it is, like large things like that. And then they would take a small local service business and they'd run the same playbook with us. And then it was like that. Every vendor I talked to, I'm like, yeah, but do you understand this? Do you understand this? And it's like, yeah. And then of course it never worked out that way. So I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to focus exclusively on small to mid-sized service providers. And we're not going to do e-commerce. We're not going to do all these other things. We're not going to do product sales, really. It's going to be only people who are actually delivering a service to either a business or a customer. and we're going to focus on small companies that don't have the resources to hire big full service agencies, and we're going to do that really well. We're going to serve that segment well. And that was like, that's a problem I could like sink my teeth into and actually get excited about in the morning. So that's kind of where we're at.
And now we're here. I love it. Definitely, I would love, let's get into that a bit more. Getting into really the
Sure.
nuts and bolts, especially for our listeners who we can have some of that ICP listening in and want to come work with you after they hear this episode, Tyler. So walk us through the core offer, right? I know you have the fractional CMO, the B2B outbound marketing, the marketing team as a service. Really walk us through all of your core offers, how it's structured. And we know that the ICP is small to mid-sized service businesses. So really more on the offer side there.
Yeah, sure. The value that we bring is there's a lot of things you can invest in from a marketing standpoint. And all of them, if done well, yield a return. What is different about the various methods is the time return, the loop, like the return loop on the investment. And SEO, for example, is a long range investment. You pay now and you invest in it and you yield a return down the road. It's a high return, but the delay is what is costly, right? So we focus exclusively. The reason is when you're in that small to mid-size space, and again, most of our clients are bootstrapped as well. You don't have a huge time window in terms of like when you need to start seeing a return on it. And so we focus on either something that is directly or is somewhat indirectly, but pretty closely tied to actual lead generation, meaning like revenue is tied to the efforts in a shorter loop. So what we started out with was we started with an idea, and you know how it goes is like, of course, it goes exactly the way you plan it the day you start your business.
Yep.
And so then the next thing you know, and there's been some things I'm sure we'll get into, there's been some like pretty significant landscape changes on the technology side of things. And then all of a sudden you start doing something different. And then now I'm coming back around into my original vision, but essentially what we are is what's called an all bound agency. So we're using inbound and outbound methods and then layering and retargeting across both methods to just increase the efficacy of the lead generation.
Love it. I absolutely love that. With that there, obviously, I've had other guests that come on the show, Tyler, with a similar fulfillment model. And one of the bigger things is they mentioned to me it's a bit difficult to scale. What has been your personal experience on that so far with AMPLIS?
When you say, in terms of me scaling my side of things?
Yeah. What's your experience been with this type of offer and getting to that scale and have that approach?
Yeah, we're still in it, right? My goal is to hit $1 million run rate with 3 full-time employees.
I love
it. In the next like 6 to 9 months. And because there's a lot of people that are talking about like they call it like the new unicorn, which is you're doing $10 million as a SaaS company bootstrapped. That's the new unicorn, right? People are like moving away from this stuff. One, we have some really awesome offshore talent. That's been a game changer. There's just people who are really gifted and willing to work really hard, and it's really accessible to smaller businesses like mine. I made a key hire early on. Someone who used to work for me at my last company actually came over, and I don't know to what degree the rocket fuel like visionary integrator model. We complement each other really well. A mentor of mine actually was like, yeah, you need to make that hire. It was a big scary. It was my first W-2 salaried employee, but having someone like that was a big decision. It was like I made the leap, and it was like I knew as soon as I did it, like within 3 months, we almost tripled in revenue.
Wow.
Like just purely out of me not doing the things that I needed to not be doing, delegating and taking things off my plate. So yeah, so and then also too, we're like, because some of the software that we have to use that we've begun using as part of the fulfillment process has pushed us down this road of AI and automations, right? Like AI is impacting marketing probably as much, if not more than any industry there is. And we're like, I had a call with my team where like we're trying to set up all our own like local MCP servers on our things to automate a lot of our own personal tasks. I'm like, this is how we get to $1 million with just us 3. And we have some vendors and contractors that we use. It's not like the 3 of us do every single thing in our agency, but 3 full-time staff. And again, we're stringing together millions of automations. We're running MCPs for AI to do a lot of the routine tasks and save time. We're going all in on efficiency.
I love it. And I think that's the biggest piece there. I'm super happy that you bring that up because for our listeners who are solopreneurs or have smaller teams, and maybe aren't utilizing AI to the fullest capability, what you're saying is huge. And a lot of people don't even know what MCP is, right? The
Yeah,
fact
to be fair, I have one and I still don't know what it is.
yeah. It's the future. It's the future app store, right? It's
Yeah.
what everything is going to be able to go through to communicate. These AI agents need to be able to talk to each other, and MCP is like the best thing to do that. So incredible
Yeah,
you're
totally.
utilizing that. So with that, you have the three-person team. Who is responsible for the sales side? Is that you, Tyler, that's really taking the sales by the horn and pushing everything through?
Yeah,
Sales process like?
yeah, mostly I'm focusing on future strategy. I'm focused on strategy, future value, and sales pretty much exclusively. Obviously, I'm still building and working in with a 3-person team. I don't know if I'll ever be fully out of. There's a version of this where maybe I get fully out of the fulfillment, but right now I'm still involved, at least on the strategy side for almost every client. But then I'm a I don't know if it's I don't remember the name of the author. He talks about the 4 levels of delegation. I'm a level 3 delegator. So I'm pretty good about handing off the things that people feel capable of doing. Oh, that's the other thing. Is like you're talking about like the challenge of scaling. Delegation is everything, right? Like how many founders can't get out of their own way? I'm
Oh yeah,
fortunate to not be like the smartest person in my company. So it makes delegation a little easier.
I love it. So with that, is part of that scale obviously hitting that 1 million run rate in the next six to 9 months? Is part of that bringing in more of a sales team, setter, closer, so you can get more into that founder level work, or what's your mindset on that as you continue to grow to that goal?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think there's like that's the other thing actually we actually recently started working with so like we have a there's a team that outsources SDRs also overseas, and we've started doing a little bit of work with like offshore SDRs as a way of testing it with our own campaigns because a lot of outbound agencies are layering in cold calling as part of their offering as well. There's like email's dead, cold calling is dead. Like everyone has their take on what method is dead, but there's always versions of everything that works well. So yeah, I think there's a version where what where we are is, and this is I think squarely in line with kind of the audience thing, is we are in that point of you start off in because you just need clients and you just need money. Everything's custom, right?
Yeah.
Every engagement's custom, every proposal's custom, every retainer's custom, all the deliverables are custom. And we're in that point now where we actually have productized services. And
Yeah.
so having people sell the productized offering that aren't me is something we're like starting to experiment with. Every once in a while, a lead will come in and I'll just have someone else handle it and be like,
Yes.
pitch them this thing. Like, this is a good fit and see how that goes.
And that's a huge factor as well, right? Being able to have that productized offer to get to that point of scaling to that 1 million run rate. It's very cool to hear the thought process behind it there, Tyler. So I would love to hear a bit more into the nuts and bolts behind your acquisition side of things. Obviously, you're helping a lot of your clients with that. What's working best
Yeah,
internally
sure.
for you right now? What channels have been more effective for you?
LinkedIn's huge for
Mm,
us. Actually, that's been a big intentional shift for our company is we're focusing on almost 100% of our client acquisition efforts are focused on acquiring clients for a LinkedIn lead gen service that we offer. It's been it's crushing. Like honestly, it's really good. It doesn't have again because it works well for our audience because small to mid-sized service businesses it's fairly it's very cost effective.
right.
The drawback is that it can't scale the same way other channels can, like paid media and email. However, not a lot of our clients aren't they're more they care more about the ROI than the scale. Again, like if you're investor backed, like you're chasing a scale, you burn as
Yes.
much as you need to get to like critical mass. Our people are not those people. Our people
Right.
are like, again, if you say, hey, I'm pushing for an exit in 3 to 5 years, then yeah, we got to build a scalable, predictable channel. But for most people, they're just like, I need them to get the most out of this is my cash, right? I need to get the most yield from that. And right now, LinkedIn's just been doing really well for us. And so
Amazing.
and again, it was the easiest service to productize and have other people try and sell and stuff. So we're doing a lot of our own stuff on LinkedIn. We drink our own Kool-Aid. So everything we offer, we do ourselves. But the one we're seeing the biggest like having the most impactful channel has been LinkedIn recently, and the one we're pushing the hardest in terms of acquiring people into that service.
Love it. I love it. Overall, from the outside looking, it sounds like a bigger bottleneck that you're having right now. It's really going to be more just around the sales side. And it looks like you're experimenting on things, but bringing in really a dedicated setter and closer to help you on that continued growth sounds like a bigger bottleneck. To me, what are you thinking on that side as far as a bottleneck? Is that the one, or are there
I
other?
don't know. You're outside looking in. You're probably have, like my thought. I was actually thinking the opposite. Like when you think about what you're good at and what I think actually like there's probably I don't know. I could be wrong on this, and I'm sure maybe someone else. If I hear the same thing in the next week, Jay was right.
Yeah.
I do think that there are pieces of in my mind, there are pieces of the fulfillment side that I think I can get off my plate
Yeah.
sooner, or I think that would be the easiest thing because what'll happen is as we grow, the sales pipeline doesn't necessarily have to continue to grow proportionally, but executing on fulfillment will grow proportionally to the size of our client base. And so I feel it more acutely in making sure that these things that I'm actually getting in and doing myself, I don't have to do because because like, again, you can also point the lead gen machine. If I say this is how much of my day I spend with sales and lead gen and acquisition and blah, 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 I can point that at larger targets. I can point that in bigger channels or more scalable channels or whatever. And probably it's still, at least again, for the size we're at, highest and best use of my time, I think is still on the development side. Whereas, like, again, I have crazy talented people on the execution side. And so my main focus is getting them doing the things I'm doing in client fulfillment. Because also, too, if you think build to sell, right? Like, key man risk is a big thing. And so, like, the day one I started my company, I'm like, I want to build a company that I don't need to do everything in. Like, that was always like my North Star anyway. So, you might be right. I don't really know. At least for now, I feel more acutely to focus on systematizing execution and fulfillment because, like I said, we're still in that thing. We do have some productized services, but we're still in that thing where we're still delivering on a lot of these custom things that we built originally when we started.
Love it. I absolutely love it. So with that, I have a pretty good idea of the picture that you have in mind for the growth, right? The main goal here is that 1 mil run rate with the three of you guys, and then you will continue to build and scale and grow on top of that. So I got one more question for you, Tyler, before we do
Sure.
go into the lightning round and wrap it up. And that's just going to be on the side of the industry as a whole. How do you see the marketing industry evolving in the coming years, especially with your practical results driven approach? What are you really doing to keep yourself at the forefront of that evolution that you're seeing?
Yeah, without making this, that's obviously that could be like a whole episode talking about
Yeah.
that. What happened? And again, like I had this idea of I was going to build this one thing, and then something happened and it changed the direction we focused in. And that was a specific technology called Clay. Have you heard
Yes.
of it?
Yep.
Yeah, this is one of what happened is I like happenstance. I had a client with B2B stuff. We were running some paid media, doing some organic content, stuff like that. And I foolishly was like, yeah, I'll run some outbound campaigns for you. This was like our first foray into the targeted outbound thing.
Yeah.
And I really quickly realized like that I overpromised on what I could actually do because it was a much more complex than I realized. Like I was in
Yeah.
my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, you just get Apollo and you blah blah blah, blast out some emails and you get a 5% reply rate and blah blah blah, whatever that kind of thing. And like it was like the world, like the tectonic plates were shifting in this space, and that was when Clay started blowing up. And so we actually got in, I don't know what to call it, early with Clay,
Yeah.
and it's such a landscape technology that I think I rightly made the decision to pivot the company in the direction and ride that wave because it's almost I know agencies that were like they rode the Shopify wave, they rode the like people ride these waves like the HubSpot partner ecosystem. Like you want to build a whole business just running HubSpot implementations, it's hard to crack into now. But Clay is it's a little bit of it's early days. It's like the day one setting for Clay, and I just think it's one of the most impactful technologies to come out in the last few years. And what was cool is again, I moved there, which in the early days, Clay was an outbound technology. But what's happening is, like I mentioned, now we're swinging back around and starting to build what I originally envisioned, which was this all bound concept. And Clay's essentially at the hub of everything we do at our agency. And also, too, realistically, the only way companies like us are doing 7-figure numbers with a couple employees. They couldn't do that without, you can't do that. You couldn't do that a few years ago. And now
No.
with N8N and Clay and all this stuff that's, I think, how we're going to do it.
Absolutely incredible. So just one more question for you. I could sit here for another hour with you. I'm loving the conversation, just your energy and what you're bringing to the table. But to finish us off here, what is the best piece of advice that you can offer to our listeners who are tuning in right now, just heard your incredible journey and where you're really looking to take AMPLIS? What can you leave them with before we wrap up?
It's toss up. I gotta give you two. One is I think founders don't take delegation serious enough. I think that people treat earning trust like this thing. It's so silly. Like you're like, like you don't delegate because you're not sure if your team's trustworthy. Get over it. Be the leader in building trust by giving people opportunities to earn your trust. So you have to delegate. No founder ever has a successful business, whether it's an exit or just a business that they don't hate owning, if they don't delegate. And then the other one is I was fortunate to get to go to one of the acquisition.com workshops at their headquarters or whatever. And this was early days when it was just me. I was just like basically a consultant. And their head of strategy, I think it was, said that he goes, whether you're building a company to sell and grow or grow and sell, or you're building it for a lifestyle, building it with enterprise value in mind is a good lens through which to make decisions. And that's actually stuck with me a lot because I think through that, how it applies at every level of decision making we make. So
I love it. I love that. With that right there, and I mean, it's some great advice at the end there for our listeners. That does wrap up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. And Tyler, man, I truly can't thank you enough for coming on the show, sharing your incredible journey and your insights with myself and the listeners. Clear as day, as I mentioned earlier, the passion, the drive, just the story to get to where you are now. Everything truly does happen for a reason, and you're seeing that success. So an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show, Tyler. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And also check out AMPLIS at amplis.co to learn more about their fractional marketing services, and follow Tyler on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Tyler Mounce. For more resources and insights, you can visit us here at closers.io, where we are dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth. Until then, keep climbing, and we will see you on the next one.